Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking, the first Friday edition, If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking. And we are here on our first Friday night at 7 p.m. on WrestleNet Radio. I want to thank Nate Maxon and the rest of the crew here for allowing me to change my start time and my day. We'll get into that reason why in just a minute or so, but it is great to be back. I missed you guys. It's only been a week, but it's been one of those weeks where I couldn't wait to unload with a lot of what I'm thinking about the world of professional wrestling. We've got a lot going on in the quick hits and a lot going on in NXT and AEW. And we're going to get into all of it tonight. And next week, though, we will be adding a little bit more content as well, a little more meat on the bones for you guys at home. But without any further ado, let's crack open our favorite frosty beverage and let's dive into some quick hits. First quick hit of the evening, the WWE releases 12 names from NXT, including Bobby Fish and Bronson Reed. This came as a shock. Yes, wrestlers have been getting released left and right over the last couple of months in the WWE, but hearing names that were going to the main roster, such as Bronson Reed, former champions such as Bobby Fish, guys who were getting pushed like Tyler Rust in the Diamond Mine, it really makes no sense whatsoever. And it seems to me that Nick Khan, the person behind all of these releases in the WWE, not Tony Khan's brother, is really on his high horse and getting rid of what they're saying is dead weight and budget cuts. I don't understand it. I'm really not sure why it's going on. But I do know, and I said this the last time we had releases and the time before that, Impact Wrestling, NWA, Ring of Honor, and AEW should have a field day in the next 30 to 90 days, picking up all of these wrestlers. AEW picked up Aleister Black, now Malachi Black, Andrade, and a couple others the last time around. Impact picked up a few as well. These wrestlers were great in the ring. Some of them were awesome on the mic as well. So, in my opinion, it is a sad day in the WWE, especially in NXT. But it may be a great day for wrestling if all of this wonderful talent ends up in other companies. Quick hit number 2. The WWE has released over 55 superstars since 2021 began. Names like Aleister Black, Andrade, who acts for his release, Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, Bronson Reed, and Bobby Fish, who I mentioned before, and a list of others are now gone from the WWE, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT rosters. And again, it's all because of Nick Khan. There's talks that Nick Khan has buddied up to Vince McMahon and has gotten Triple H away from Vince a little more and is now Vince's right-hand man. So I don't know if he's getting in Vince's ear. I don't know if they're gearing up for a sale to one of these other companies such as Disney or ESPN or, NBC and Peacock or what. But whatever the case may be, we are seeing more and more names being downsized that we never thought would have happened. Braun Strowman is a former Universal Champion and was holding the Universal title as, little as last year. It went from him to The Fiend to Roman Reigns, and now Roman's been the champion since last year. It's ridiculous. I'm really hoping that the bleeding will finally stop, but if it's any indication with the talks of a change in NXT, we may see a few more names on the chopping block. And that brings us to quick hit number 3. Triple H no longer in charge of NXT. And my. I am a true NXT fan. I'm not putting anybody down by saying you aren't. I've been watching NXT since it started as the rookie and pro whole BS game show thing they had going on. And then when they finally changed it to just a straight up wrestling show and renamed FCW, it was great back then. It got great again and better as time went on. And that was because of guys like Triple H. Triple H, Dusty Rhodes, William Regal, Steve Corino. The list could go on and on. Albert, Shawn Michaels. If these people are not there anymore because Triple H is no longer in charge, who's to say they're going to let his crew still be in charge? I don't foresee NXT being as good as it once was. There is incredible talk of a rebranding of NXT in the logo department and making it more of a developmental show again, giving it, a new look. And I have to say, if that's the case, and it turns into Monday Night Raw Junior, you may not be seeing that on If You Smell What the Arch Is Cooking anymore. Once this whole rebranding period goes on, I will give it a couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But if Vince McMahon and Tony, if Vince McMahon and Nick Khan are going to kill NXT, then I don't want to be around to watch it die. I will gladly make this an AEW, Impact, NWA, New Japan, Ring of Honor show before I'll allow myself to watch garbage and Vince McMahon's hand once again ruining something that didn't need to be even touched by him. So here's hoping that Triple H will get back to reigns quickly and start putting on a great show again. You couldn't tell that it was, rebranding this week, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Number 4, and the quick hits, and the reason we moved to the Friday night time slot. AEW Rampage debuts tonight at 10 p.m. on TBS, and I cannot wait. If AEW Dynamite this week and all they told us that's going to happen, which we'll get into that when we get to the show, is any indication, AEW Rampage is going to be phenomenal. And I will be recapping that show every week on If You Smell What the Arch Is Cooking. We will do AEW Rampage from the Friday before. We will do NXT, and we will do AEW Dynamite on a weekly basis. So you may be hearing results that you already know, or, some of what happened, or you may have just watched it and you're getting to hear what I think about it the following Friday. But whatever the case may be, we are going to be adding AEW Rampage, and I cannot wait. I can't wait for week 2 if they say what's going to happen with the whole CM Punk debut. If it happens, I'm all for it, ladies and gentlemen. And our final quick hit, this is a sad one. The passing of beautiful Bobby Eaton this past week. We talked about it on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We talked about it on a slice of life, with Nate Maxson and myself. Bobby Eaton was a tag team specialist, one of my favorites. The Midnight Express was Bobby Eaton. You had Bobby with Dennis and then Bobby with Stan. But Bobby was always the staying one in that whole exchange, him and Jim Cornette. And then, of course, him with Arn Anderson and with Larry Zbyszko and the Dangerous Alliance. His matches with Stunning Steve Austin for the World Television title. Then with him with the Blue Bloods, him with Bad Attitude with Steve Kearns. Bobby Eaton was phenomenal. And he was one of the nicest guys. People have always said you would never get a wrong word out of Bobby Eaton. Jim Cornette on the Jim Cornette Experience this week had a hard time even getting through the show. He got misty-eyed because of the relationship he shared with Bobby Eaton. He relived some stories, and he's going to be missed. Bobby Eaton will be missed in the wrestling community. I pray peace on his family, and I say rest in peace, beautiful Bobby Eaton. You will definitely be missed, and we thank you for all the great years that you gave us in this business. So we now move on to NXT, and here are the highs, ladies and gentlemen. NXT this past Tuesday, another solid opener, recapping what's happening between Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. Karrion Kross and Samoa Joe, and Walter and Ilja Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship. It was great to see what's been going on. If you missed anything, this kind of got you caught up. Then we go into the show and we get Dakota Kai coming out. She cuts a quick promo before she has an incredible opener with Saraya. This was a great opening match. Both women were back and forth and with reversals and submission maneuvers for 13 minutes straight. Dakota Kai finally outsmarted Saraya and got the win and proved that she is just as good as she says she is. After the match, Raquel hits the ring and chases Dakota off. She makes a statement and lets Dakota know that at TakeOver, she's planning to rip her apart. Now, I've said this before, Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez had a very Shawn Michaels Diesel-esque feel to it. And I cannot wait to see these two women have a match. I hope it is a great match. I hope that it's not a clash of styles or a David versus Goliath, because Raquel has such a bigger size advantage against Dakota Kai. But whatever the case may be, I have no doubt that these women are going to have a great outing at NXT TakeOver 36 for the NXT Women's Champion. We take a turn and find out that Dexter and Indy's storyline will continue tonight, and it's their first date. I'm loving this, ladies and gentlemen. Dexter shows up at the Garganos to pick up Indy, and Johnny just looks like a dad whose daughter is about to go out with a biker. Candace tried to talk Hartwell out of it, and Johnny is just losing a stare down with Dexter Lumis like you wouldn't believe. He's trying to talk to him. Dexter's giving him nothing. I can't wait for more of this tonight. Hit Row with a backstage promo talking about Legado del Fantasma. I'm getting a very Papa Shango-esque vibe. Kind of weird and kind of good. I don't know what really went on here. They talked about being disrespected. They threw a lucha mask into the fire, and then it was over. Ilja Dragunov makes his way to the ring to cut a promo and hype his match with Walter for the United Kingdom Championship at TakeOver. And I like Ilja. I think he has a lot of talent, but Walter is just too big. I don't know anybody I think can go face-to-face with Walter and actually make it a believable match, but for some reason, Ilja has done it on one occasion already. And now here's Pete Dunne looking for a thank you for all he's done for NXT UK. And this is all leading us to Dunne versus Dragunov in our main event tonight. And all I've got to say is, yes, please. Backstage, LA Knight cuts down Cameron Grimes again en route to his match tonight, which is next. Still very much enjoying this storyline, and it all has to offer as it continues since, I believe the last 2 months. But I'm not mad at it because both guys are doing a great job here. Grimes is funny and also irritating the hell out of LA Knight, and LA Knight is becoming a star slowly but surely. We get Knight versus Chase. He is one of the young men who lost in the Breakout Stars tournament. And this was a squash match that lasted all of 2 minutes, but it was done to make the picture of this feud even bigger. Knight is interrupted by the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and the two come to an agreement. Knight versus Grimes one more time for the $1 Million Championship. If Grimes wins, he is the champion. But if Knight wins, then the $1 Million Man has to become LA Knight's butler from here on out. This is great. These two men, and really all three, back and forth on the microphone, has been fantastic through this entire feud. The backstage segments, the golfing segments, the doing the lawn segment have been great. And all in all, it has been making the $1 Million Man do what he does best, cut a promo. And it's great to see that they did not give up on Cameron Grimes after the two losses to LA Knight at the first two takeovers. Gigi Dolan cuts a great promo backstage and then gets ready for her matchup, which is next. We have Dolan versus Amari Miller. This was a decent match. Miller got in some offense, but this was mainly to show off all of Gigi's innovative offense that she had. She won the match in just 4 minutes with an abominable stretch slam. This was almost like a Page Turner bulldog maneuver that looked unbelievable. And I'm glad to see that she's finally getting push and beginning her start in NXT. We see Indy and Dexter at their restaurant, and Indy cannot wait for the chicken fingers. She's not to have fine candy on them, and Johnny being on a walkie-talkie. Part the whole scene, Dexter is just straight faced, looking forward, and Indy's just gushing, trying to get as close to him as possible. We then have a face to face meeting between Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole in the ring with William Regal. This is to discuss their three falls matchup at NXT TakeOver 36. O'Reilly wants the first fall to be a regular pinfall and submission match so that he can hang a loss over Adam Cole's head. Cole says that O'Reilly is predictable, and he wants the second fall to be a street fight so he could beat the hell out of Kyle throughout the entire NXT arena. They begin to brawl as they always do, and Regal lets them know that if they go to the third fall, it will be in a steel cage match. Cole and O'Reilly, although a bit quick, has been incredible. Their storyline, I feel, could have used a little more slow burn, but if this gets us to Cole going to the main roster and O'Reilly being finally put over as a star, I'm all for it. Thatcher and Ciampa then chime in and let Dunn, Lorcan, and Holland know that they're coming for them. And I'm kind of hoping that they add a third man to Ciampa and Thatcher. Ridge Holland being back and making it a 3-on-2 is kind of weird, but I got a feeling there's someone lurking that may just pop in and make this a 6-man match or, what have you. But whatever the case may be, I'm down for Ridge Holland versus Ciampa or Thatcher, and I'm down for the tag team matches that we're going to get out of this as well. MSK and Imperium trade promos before their match next week for the tag team titles. And then we get Odyssey Jones versus Trey Baxter in the semifinals of the Breakout Star Tournament. I was hoping Baxter would get a better outing than he did last week because he was a little sloppy. And he did, but they were only given 4 minutes. Jones used his power and got the win and is in the finals. And I'm hoping it'll be against Carmelo Hayes, but I have a feeling that it will be Hudson that's going over in the whole tournament. A couple things is bothering me here. They're not lows in this, but Odyssey Jones is the same size as Bronson Reed, and he was just fired. So you're pushing a guy that you basically just fired his counterpart. It makes no sense. This tournament is meant to be for the next breakout star. I'd like them to be giving them a little bit longer of matches, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. If you're going to make this a tournament and make us want to see these guys, like, for instance, I don't care to see Trey Baxter ever again. I don't know that much about him. All I know is that he's great at Twitter because that's all they showed us about him was his tweets about Odyssey Jones. But whatever the case may be, I am psyched for Carmelo Hayes versus Hudson, and I hope they have a great matchup next week. Apparently, Xyla Lee is no longer here, but Boa will be after the break. William Regal announced Kushida versus Strong for the Cruiserweight title next week. That should be a great matchup. And more from the restaurant with Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis. And here's Johnny again. Johnny is in disguise, and he delivers a cake to Indy and Dexter. Indy realizes it's Johnny Gargano under a very bad hairpiece and mustache. They play tug of war for the cake, which goes all over Dexter Lumis. And this and always will be comedy gold. I don't care what anyone says. I know maybe there's not a place for it in wrestling all the time. But when you mix good wrestling like we got out of Gargano and Dexter Lumis last week, and then a great skit this week, you should be thanking NXT and saying, keep this going. Just my opinion. vignette for Cross and Joe, and this has a preview for like a horror movie almost, and I'm liking it. Showing off Cross's past of destruction and in a way to continue to get this guy over. Take notes, Vince. When you want to get a new guy over, show us what he's done in the past, and then let him redo it on your roster. But what do I know? And then it is main event time. Dragunov versus Dunn. It was a hard hitting from the opening bell matchup. This was strong style personified and everything you want from UK stars. Dragunov got distracted by Walter. Dunn took advantage and got the win in just over the 20-minute mark. Great main event. Walter then tries to come down and take Dragunov out after the match, but Ilja proves he can stand toe-to-toe with the UK champion to close out the show. I like Ilja. I like Pete Dunne. I like Walter. And I'm happy to see a UK title match in NXT US, if you want to call it that. I'm glad to see Walter on US soil because he always says he'll never really come here. But whatever the case may be, Walter and Dragunov should be an incredible matchup at NXT 36. Now it's time for the lows. Boa versus Drake Maverick. Boa versus Drake Maverick, excuse me. The ring girl, Mei Ying, leads Boa to the ring, and that seems to be the best thing about this matchup. The entrance and his moveset is straight out of Mortal Kombat, ladies and gentlemen. That's not a good thing. After some mist from Mei Ying, Boa gets the win at the 5-minute mark. That was the first low. Second low, and this is a knock towards the entire episode, the whole show seemed very backstage and promo heavy. There was 41 minutes of actual wrestling on this 2-hour show, and it looked like they were stalling in some parts. Now, I'm not complaining about the LA Knight, Cameron Grimes stuff. I'm not complaining about the Indy Hartwell and Dexter Lumis Gargano stuff. But there were some points in this show where we could have had a couple of extra minutes towards a match instead of, the hit row backstage promo or, the Cross Joe vignette being 10 minutes long. We could have cut that to 2 or 3 minutes and still proven our point. But whatever the case may be, the actual wrestling action on this show was fantastic. Good show. If you did not watch it yet, go out of your way to find it and watch it on Peacock. If you still got the network up in Canada, or on YouTube or wherever you watch your WWE programming. And now on to AEW Dynamite. And I had a lot to say about Dynamite this week because, well, there was a lot going on. The highs. We opened with MJF issuing a warning to Chris Jericho for his match tonight with Wardlow. He's been great on the mic through this feud. It's been leading this feud just a little bit. And he tells Wardlow not to drop the ball again. Is there possibly a rift between Wardlow and MJF? The Elite, Kenny Omega and the Jacksons, Nick and Matt, the Young Bucks, are taking on the Seidels and Dante Martin in our opening matchup. And this was the right way to open the show. 6 of the best high flyers in AEW. The Seidels show off their double teaming skills against Matt Jackson, and in comes Martin. The Bucks take advantage and prove why they are the best in AEW with some great double teaming, but Martin isn't backing down, and the Elite are in trouble. The double team submission was awesome to see from the Seidels, and Martin proved he will be a star very soon, taking out both the Bucks and Omega. That top rope to the floor, Huracan Rana, was poetry in motion, in my opinion. But Omega hit the one-winged angel, and then we get a triple BTE trigger, and the Elite pick up the win in just a 15-minute mark. Excellent way to open the show. Excellent matchup. Christian and Jurassic Express interrupt, and the champs in the ring. They make their way to the ring, and we go to a commercial. I don't know why, but okay. Back from the break, and Callis tries to cut Cage off, and he isn't having it. We find out that it'll be Omega versus Cage for the title at All Out on September 5th in Chicago for the AEW World Heavyweight title. The Carney piece of shit line was gold here, and the crowd calling Callis a jagoff. I was into it. They were into it. Perfect. And then the blockbuster announcements of the night. This Friday on Rampage, it will be Cage versus Omega for the Impact World Heavyweight title in the opening match, the first match in Rampage history. And next week on Dynamite, it will be Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, the Jurassic Express, taking on the Young Bucks for the AEW World Tag Team titles. The first 30 minutes of the show has been absolutely epic. If you missed the first 30 minutes, shame on you. Malachi Black then delivers an incredible promo delivered to the entire AEW locker room. And then we go to a preview of Cody Rhodes' reality show. More on that later. We will then go to Gracie's taking on Darby Allin. This was a good back and forth matchup that showed what the new signee Gracie's can do, and he took Darby Allin's best. But Allin picked up the win with the coffin drop in just 9 minutes, and then from out of nowhere, 2.0, aka Everrise, aka the team I hated in NXT and is now in AEW, try to attack the Stinger, and they get their asses handed to them. Well done, Sting. Thank you very much. Death Triangle let Andrade know that any of the three are ready to fight, and Pentagon wants him first. I honestly don't care which one it is, Pentagon, Phoenix, or Pac. Whoever, which one of them go up against Andrade, I'm for. I want to see it. I don't care who it is. Give us Andrade in the ring with one of these three men. Let the storyline progress in the ring. Best Friends take on House of Hardy in yet another trios match. And that's not a knock. It's just what AEW seems to be doing best, is putting multiple men in the ring at once. And Cassidy and Hardy start us off with a little bit of comedy. And then we go into the action. Hardy and Private Party gained the upper hand and beat up Yuta. What's a Yuta? I don't know. I know who this guy is, but I didn't know that was his name. Whatever. House of Hardy gets the underhanded win thanks to outside interference. It was a good match, but too much was going on for 9 minutes of this matchup. There was Nyla Rose and the rest of House Hardy, and then, it was just too much, too soon. A little more condensed, a little more time. Give us a better matchup. But it's still in the highs here because it was still a good match. Andrade answers the challenge of Pac and wants the match at All Out. Yes, please. Pac versus Andrade at All Out would be phenomenal. In Chicago, we have to see it. I hope it gets booked. We get a look back at the Revival and Santana or Ortiz. We need another matchup between these four men. Their first matchup was great. It's just bad that Cash Wheeler got his arm busted up and cut so badly. I hope he will be back very soon. But whatever the case is, these two teams need to be in the ring once again. And then I think the winners deserve an AEW World Tag Team title shot. The Bucks are backstage, and Luchasaurus just schooled them at basketball. I don't know where this came from, but I'm glad that it happened. It was phenomenal. The Bucks are talking trash. In come Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, steal the ball and the dunk. It was perfect timing. So much seriousness going on. We need a little bit of comedy. Preview for Baker versus Red Velvet on Rampage. And then the Doctor makes her way to the ring in her hometown and gets her hometown reception as she wanted. Britt cuts the best promo we've had of the night and proves why she is at the top of the mountain in AEW, in my opinion. And then Red Velvet comes out, and these two brawl for just a minute, and then they get separated. This should be a great matchup. I see Britt still holding on to the title. I really don't consider Red Velvet a serious contender, but it's good to see them mixing her up and actually allowing her to defend the title as frequently as possible. Past champions were only defending their title, I think, once a month, once every 2 months. Britt is now going on her third or fourth title defense. We then go to the Good Brothers versus the Dark Orders, Uno and Grayson, with the Impact World Tag Team titles on the line. Dark Order get an early advantage, but Michael Nakazawa with the Elite helps to turn things around. Kazarian gets rid of him, and it's left to just the two teams. But the Good Brothers are in control. A little bit of back and forth action here. And then at the 10-minute mark, we get a Magic Killer, and the Good Brothers retain. Decent matchup, good way to continue to progress the story of the Elite and the Dark Order. I'm all for it. Then we get QT Marshall in the ring with the Factory, and this would usually be in the lows because I don't like QT Marshall. I don't understand the Factory. They branched off from the American Nightmare Factory or whatever. It's just a big old mess. But they begin to attack Tony Schiavone and his son because they want Tony to apologize for being disrespectful. Paul White, the Big Show, the Giant, cuts that off, and the big man proves that he can still go because he delivers a thunderous chokeslam, and it was great to see. I don't know if that means that Paul will be getting back in the ring anytime soon, but if that's what we're headed to, okay, give him a little match. Give him a match. Let him squash the entire Factory and get him out of AEW. I don't care. We get a little preview for the debut of Rampage and next week's Dynamite, and I cannot wait. 3 title matches on Rampage and 2 on Dynamite. Let's go. Jericho versus Wardlow, our main event. Jericho got an early advantage and hit a code breaker, but Wardlow quickly kicked out. Jim Ross utters the words, he beat a dead man with that move once. Damn, Jim. So Wardlow takes over with a little distraction from MJF. Jericho finally able to get back into it and put on a Walls of Jericho, but MJF rakes his eyes, tries to get involved, but he gets ejected. And this leads to Jericho using his bat and the Judas effect to pick up the win at the 15-minute mark and beat his 4th labor. So now he is at his 5th labor, which means he'll be facing MJF. Following the match, though, MJF beats down Jericho until Sammy Guevara and Hager hit the ring and make the save, but the damage has been done to Jericho's arm once again. MJF then lets Jericho know that next week he will not be able to use the Judas effect in their matchup. And it was the way MJF delivered this promo, letting Jericho know, as he says, I'm better than you and you know it. MJF, great at his promos, always delivers. He's good in the ring. And I think against Jericho, they're going to have an incredible knockdown, drag-out fight next week. Show comes to a close, and now we move to the lows. There were 3 lows on AEW, but nothing too horrible. First low, doing a promo for the Rhodes reality show after saying that Cody is not there and will be out with injury because of what Malachi Black did to him last week. You did this when Brody Lee debuted and took Cody out, and he went off to film the Go Home Big Show or whatever the hell the show was called. They basically admitted that's why he's out for injury, not because he was devastated by Malachi Black, but because he's got to film a damn reality show. They could have done this promo next week for the show and still let it be known that Cody isn't there because of how injured he was. Bad timing, but no biggie. Miro's predictable, boring promo again. It's enough. Let the guy wrestle, and that's it. We don't need him to say he's God's favorite and he's the best champion because he just sounds like a guy who's bitter about getting fired by the WWE still and still doesn't really know what his place in AEW is. You're a monster. Be one. You talking makes you look like a schmuck. And finally, Rose versus Statlander. This was immediately following the Best Friends 6-man tag that we had with House Hardy. And this again continued to be too much going on during the match. Between Vicky Guerrero screaming and Nyla Rose botching, I just couldn't put this in the highs. Statlander, however, picking up a major upset victory after a powerbomb and a 450 splash was good. So this wasn't a terrible low, but it wasn't great either. So those are the highs and lows from NXT and AEW. I hope you agree, but if you don't, you can always contact me with your feelings on the matter. Let me know what you think should have been changed or what you felt was better. I'm always up for it. And now we are going to go to our final segment of the night. I'm going to keep this quick. It is what grinds my gears. And this is short but sweet. Impact Wrestling star Jordan Grace, a former Impact champion, recently stated in a interview that she's very upset that the Forbidden Door has not had any women go through it, and that women should have been included in the Forbidden Door. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mickie James just came from the NWA and walked into Impact. Camille Brickhouse just came from the NWA and walked on to AEW to get at her next opponent, Hirsch, and get in her face. Thunder Rosa came from NWA to AEW, as did Serena Deeb. So, what exactly hasn't gone through the Forbidden Door, Jordan? Why? Because you haven't been invited to go to AEW or NWA or go fight in Japan yet? You feel that no women are involved? See, this is the problem. We've had women's main events on both shows, women's main events at pay-per-views, women's main events everywhere. But there is still someone saying women are not being taken seriously. The women have come a long way in the world of professional wrestling over the last couple of years. And it seems to me that only a few people have taken notice, where some sour grapes are still trying to grasp at straws and say, no, you're not giving us enough time. How much time do you want when a pay-per-view now has 3 to 4 women's matches on it, when a wrestling show like Raw, SmackDown, or AEW has 2 to 3 women's matches on it, when Mickie James is organizing a women's only pay-per-view again? Jordan Grace, you're out of touch. You're out of time. I kind of hope you get out of a job too, because you suck in Impact. You're a botch machine, just like Nyla Rose, just like Nia Jax. And yeah, that's it. So, thank you once again for joining me here on WrestleNet Radio. Thank you for supporting the channel and the radio station. We appreciate you guys immensely, and we ask that you continue to add people as we add content. Join us for a slice of life. The year that was, the Goldust Maximus, the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And if you do, I will see you next week when we add Rampage to the mix on If You Smell What the Arch Is Cooking. Good night, everybody.